Before we start, I need a favor. Let me know in the comments what's been done right or wrong. This also helps me create better content for you all. And now we begin. The ranger's map was hand-drawn. Not a glossy visitor handout. No trail distances. Just thin graphite lines, oddly smooth like someone had redrawn them over and over. The ranger at the south gate said the standard maps were out of print and passed me this wrinkled sheet like it was no big deal. "It's accurate enough," he said without looking up. "Just follow the main loop." I was hiking solo, just me, my pack, and 4 days off the grid. That was the whole point. Silence. Trees. No reception. No emails from my boss asking why my deliverables were still pending. No reminders that my ex had moved on fast. By the time I set up camp at the trail's midpoint, the sun was nearly gone. I filtered some water from the creek, made coffee I didn't need, and turned in early. That's when I saw it. From the ridge above my sight, a blinking red light. It pulsed in the trees, just high enough to be mounted on something tall. I climbed part way up the slope, cupping my eyes, and there it was, a fire tower. Classic design. Steel legs, a dark windowed cabin up top, red aviation light pulsing every few seconds. It wasn't on the map. I checked 3 times by lantern light. No side trail. No ranger mark. Nothing. But I could see it plain as day. I figured maybe it was a decommissioned lookout. Maybe the ranger just forgot to add it. So I grabbed my headlamp and decided to hike up. Curiosity wins out fast when you're alone in the wood. The trail leading up was overgrown but walkable. I reached the base within 15 minutes. No sign of recent use. The stairs creaked but held. Each step vibrated like a tuning fork. When I reached the top platform, I stopped dead in my track. It was burned out. Charred beams. Blistered floorboards. Roof caved in. No signs of life. No tools. Just a metal desk frame half melted in the corner. But here's the thing. That red beacon was still blinking outside the window. I stepped in cautiously. The air smelled faintly of wood smoke, like a fire that had burned years ago but never fully left. And on the blackened desk was a weather-beaten composition notebook. I flipped it open with 2 fingers. The first page had 1 sentence. Tower log, Ranger J. Wheeler. The rest of the pages were entries. Simple stuff: lightning storm to the north, smoke plume by Point Creek. But after a few pages, the entries started to shift. Man in red flannel seen on trail again. No response to hails. Backpack appears near steps every morning. Unzip. Empty. Then, underlined in red ink. Visitor returned. Says his name is Grayson. That's my name. I slammed the book shut. It wasn't a common name, not out here. I checked the date. The entry was from 2 years ago. I rifled through more pages. My name showed up 3 more times, each dated over the next 3 nights. The final entry just said, Grayson gone. Tower burned again. That's when I noticed the floor. One board near the center was completely clean. No ash. No soot. A perfect rectangle, 6 feet long. Like someone had replaced it. I backed out. The beacon outside blinked again, twice fast this time. As I descended the stairs, I looked back just once. There was someone standing inside the tower, silhouetted against the fire glow. He looked just like me. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that silhouette in the tower. Standing in the same spot I'd been standing. Same frame, same posture. I tried to tell myself it was a trick of the light. Maybe the beacon had cast my own shadow backward somehow. But I knew better. At sunrise, I boiled water and dumped it. Couldn't keep food down. My hands were still shaking as I packed. I wasn't going to stick around another night. I'd hike back down the loop, retrace my steps, and be out of this place by evening. Except the trail didn't look the same on the way down. There was a break in the path I didn't remember, a splintered tree across the bend like it had just fallen. I climbed over it and kept moving, expecting the slope to start flattening out. It didn't. Instead, it tilted again, uphill. At first, I figured I'd gotten turned around. The map the ranger gave me was a joke anyway, more like an art project than a navigation tool. I took out my GPS. No signal. It just blinked at me, then shut off. That's when the air changed. It got warmer. A low hum settled over the trees, like cicadas but deeper, mechanical almost. I looked around and realized something I hadn't noticed before. Every bird call I'd heard since sunrise was looping, like a background sound effect stuck on repeat. Cree-cree. Pause. Cree-cree. Same exact rhythm. Every time. I moved faster. Within minutes, I saw it. The fire tower. Not ahead. Not below. Above me. Again. It was the same one. Same burned frame. Same blinking beacon. Same clean floorboard. I didn't want to go up. I swear I didn't. But my legs carried me anyway, like I'd been here before and was just following muscle memory. The notebook was waiting for me. But it wasn't closed this time. It was open to a blank page. And my pen was sitting beside it. I picked it up and wrote a single sentence. Who are you? I paused. Nothing happened. Then, right beneath my handwriting, a new line appeared, slower, shakier, like someone carving each letter in wet ash. You. Before the fire. I stared at it, then wrote, Why am I back? The answer came slower this time. You didn't stop it. We never stop it. You always come back. I tore out the page, folded it, put it in my back pocket, then flipped back to the start of the journal, where I'd first seen my name listed in the log from 2 years ago. But now the date was today's, June 5th, and underneath, there was a new line. Grayson arrived. Said it's different this time. I don't believe him. I slammed the journal shut. I sprinted down the stairs. Didn't look back. Made it a quarter mile before I heard the beacon blink again, 2 fast pulses. I turned on my phone. Still no signal. But the screen lit up with a text I hadn't seen before. No number. Just gray bubbles. Grayson, don't go left. That was the first message the radio had given me in the old story. The one I thought I'd imagined. But this time, I realized something. It wasn't a warning to me about Tyler. It was a warning to me from me. And I hadn't listened. By noon, I was drenched in sweat and headed due west. No trail, no markers, just intuition and stubborn panic. I didn't care if I got scratched, soaked, or bit by 1,000 bugs. I just wanted distance. I needed that tower behind me, far behind, and every time I stopped to breathe, I made sure I couldn't see its blinking light between the trees. But the forest had stopped playing fair. I crossed the same creek twice, once going north, once west. Same bend, same rock. My footprints from earlier were still there on the bank, only fresher than they should have been. Time wasn't behaving right anymore. The sunlight wasn't either. It was high noon, but it had that weird amber tint, like it was already dusk. Or like I was walking through smoke without smelling it. And then I saw it. A clearing. Flat, circular, too even to be natural. In the center, a stack of flat stones arranged like a table. On top sat a laminated map, perfectly clean despite the grime everywhere else. I approached it slowly. The paper was pinned under smooth quartz. Looked newer than anything else I'd seen in the last 24 hours. It was a ranger map. A better one, professional, printed, with names, distances, contour lines. But then I looked closer. There were 2 towers marked on it. 2 red dots labeled Fire Lookout North and Fire Lookout East. I had only seen 1 tower. But something colder settled in my spine when I looked again. One of the dots was smudged. Smudged and burned. A dark ring of melted plastic and scorched laminate radiated out from that dot like someone had set a match on it. I lifted the quartz. Underneath it was a note, folded, with faint handwriting. Grayson. You burned it. But it's still there. I didn't write it. But it was my name. And the handwriting looked eerily close to mine. Then I saw the edge of something beneath the map. I peeled it up, hands trembling. Another page. A photocopy of the same map, but older. This one only had 1 tower. And no burn mark. No note. No sign of me. Just clean, dry trail lines leading out of the forest. Leading home. I rolled it up, shoved it in my pack, and turned to leave. That's when the breeze changed. It wasn't a forest breeze. It was hot, dry, and carried the unmistakable scent of burning pine. Behind me, red embers floated through the air, soft and weightless like dandelion seeds. I turned. The fire tower stood in the clearing again. Fully built. Not burned. Red light blinking calmly. Smoke curled out its windows. A figure stepped onto the top platform, tall, rigid posture, wearing my jacket. He looked down at me, holding something in his hands. It was the burned map. He raised his other hand and pointed behind me. I turned slowly. The trail I'd come from was now blackened ash, smoking, glowing faintly with orange cracks, like the earth had split open and the fire was just beneath the surface. The tower figure pointed to the opposite side of the clearing. A new trail had formed. Narrow. Untouched. It wasn't on either map. But I knew. This was the one I had to take. As I stepped onto it, the fire behind me pulsed like a breath. Then the forest went still. No wind. No birds. No loops. Just the sound of my own footsteps on a trail no map had ever shown. And far behind me, a voice from the tower whispered, "Try again." And now for our second story. We weren't supposed to be there. That's what made it interesting. Anna had borrowed the printed map from the ranger station when we passed through. Not a glossy brochure, but a real one, creased, hand-labeled, and supposedly archival. On it was a trail we didn't recognize. She spotted a tiny X marked with a scribble, Old Grove Campground. "Never heard of it," she said. "Let's go." I was the idiot who said yes. The hike in was longer than expected. We lost daylight halfway there, and had to finish with headlamp. Then we saw it, an old wooden sign, half buried under leaves. Old Grove Campground. Closed until further notice. The paint was chipped but legible. Past it, the woods opened into an eerie little world frozen in time. Picnic tables. A rusting swing set. Camp pads still laid out in half-rot. There were shoes under one of the benches. Kids' shoes. We should have left. But Anna said it was perfect for photography. Creepy retro summer vibes, she said, setting up her tripod while Liam and Sasha explored the abandoned mess hall. I wandered off to pee behind a tree. That's when I saw it. Hanging from a nail on the backside of a birch tree, a vintage Polaroid camera. Still intact. Still warm. I thought that was weird. Not the camera, it's the woods. People dump junk all the time. But the warmth? Like someone had just used it. I called for Anna, but she was already on her way over. When I pointed to the camera, she grinned. "Score," she said and took it down. Then she pulled the trigger. Click. Horror. Out came a photo. She shook it gently. Liam and Sasha came jogging over just as the image developed. It was us. The three of us. From behind. Standing near the camera. Our backs turned, looking toward the tree it was nailed to. Except we hadn't been standing there. We'd just arrived. Liam squinted. "Is this a prank?" "No," I said, too quiet. Anna checked the back. No film left. But the battery? Still good. We argued for a while about whether to stay. Anna said the camera probably belonged to some weird art kid. Liam thought we were being watched. Sasha just wanted to go. That's when Anna saw the second photo. It was already inside her camera bag. None of us had put it there. This one was different. It was the same group photo, same angle, same pose, but this time, Sasha wasn't in it. Just Anna, Liam, and me. And the timestamp? Tomorrow's date. Then Sasha screamed. We turned and she was gone. We searched for Sasha for over an hour. Calling her name, checking the old mess hall, circling the entire campground. She was just gone. No footprints leading away. No broken branches. Her water bottle was still sitting by the swing set where she'd been moments before. Anna kept clutching the Polaroid like it could explain something. "This has to be a joke," she kept saying. But her voice cracked every time she said it. Then Liam looked into her camera bag again. The guys. There was a new photo inside. Same as before. Same angle. Same setup. But this time, Anna was missing from the frame. Just me and Liam. And the timestamp? An hour from now. We all froze. That's not possible, I said. But Anna was already backing away, head shaking. You're messing with me. Liam held up both hands. I swear I didn't touch the camera. But Anna wasn't listening. She turned and ran. Liam shouted after her. I did too. But she was already gone, swallowed by the woods. 10 minutes later, she stopped answering. I didn't want to say it out loud, but we both knew. Whatever had taken Sasha had taken her too. We sat on one of the rotting picnic benches, stunned. Liam kept checking the Polaroid every couple minutes like it might vanish. Then he said it. I think this thing's printing the future. I didn't argue. He passed me the photo. My hands were slick with sweat. The paper felt heavier than it should have, like it knew something. I'm next, he whispered. I shook my head. We can change it. We just need to get rid of the camera. But when we turned around, the camera was gone. Liam swore he'd left it on the bench beside him. We started tearing the campsite apart looking for it. Under benches, inside the mess hall ruins, beneath tarps. Nothing. Until we checked Anna's bag again. Another photo. Just me this time. No Liam. Timestamp. 20 minutes from now. He didn't say anything. He just looked at me like I'd already lost him. Then he turned around. And vanished mid-step, like a film glitch. One frame he was there, the next gone. No sound. No scream. No trace. Just the final photo in the bag. It hadn't printed yet. But as it slid out, I knew what it would show. The campground. Empty. No one left to photograph. I didn't run. Where would I go? There were no footprints to follow. No trail markers. Just that awful looping silence and the weight of the last Polaroid growing cold in my hand. I sat at the center of the campground, surrounded by rotten tables, busted tents, and my own breath fogging in the summer air. The sky had turned bruised and wrong. It wasn't sunset, but the light had that same low-bellied threat to it. Like dusk without time. Like the forest was waiting. That's when I noticed something odd. Each of the old wooden benches was numbered. Carved. Not painted. 1. And the one I sat on? 4. There were only 4 of us when we got here. Sasha. Anna. Liam. Me. Now they were gone. And I was sitting on the last numbered bench. I stood up fast. The ground beneath the bench had started to smolder, quiet and faint, like heat pushing through from below. I could smell ash. Not smoke. Not burning wood. Just ash. And then I saw the camera. It was sitting on the swing. Right where Sasha had left her water bottle. It was aimed at me. No strap. No tripod. Just perched, perfect and patient. I should have walked away. Instead, I walked toward it. It clicked without being touched. Horror. A photo began sliding out. I didn't take it. I didn't want to touch it. But I couldn't help myself. The photo showed the camp from above, like a drone shot. But it wasn't modern. It looked aged. Like someone had hand-colored it and let the sun bleach it out over decade. In the center of the image, the 4 benches were clearly visible. And etched into the ground around them was a spiral, perfectly scorched. A trail that hadn't been there before. And my bench 4, was glowing in the image. Even as I stood there holding the photo, the earth beneath me started to crack in the same pattern I saw in the picture. Then I noticed the writing at the bottom of the Polaroid. Not typed. Not printed. Like with a nail or a blade. Last seat always stays. Until the next group comes. I looked up. The swing was empty. The camera was gone again. And the trees were too still. That's when I heard voices. Far off. Laughing. Footstep. New ones. Coming into the campground. Just 4. And now for our last story. Dad and I were supposed to be bonding. That was the whole point of this trip. Post-divorce weekend getaway. Just the 2 of us. We'd planned a scenic drive through the national forest, using a new printed map the ranger gave us, Bright colors, updated trails, a big green arrow that read, "You are here." It was supposed to be foolproof, but when the road forked and the GPS lost signal, Dad made the call to take the left path, marked clear-cut scenic loop. Said it would reconnect with the main trail in under 3 miles. We drove for 10. The trees got blacker. Not dark. Blackened. Charred trunks, ash-covered soil. Like we'd driven straight into a place the sun hadn't touched in years. Dad slowed the car. This wasn't supposed to be here. He pulled the map out of the glove box and unfolded it across the steering wheel. The section we were in? Green. Labeled safe. But outside the windshield, the ground was still smoking. A white plume curled out of a downed log. Something had scorched this area recently. But the map claimed this section hadn't been burned in over a decade. Then we saw the sign. Tilted, wooden, and half-melted. Burn complete, June 4, 2026. I stared at Dad. It's only 2025. The air was wrong. Thinner. It made my ears buzz and the back of my neck prickle. We hadn't passed a single trail marker in miles. No signs. No fences. Just those long, winding burn lines like veins in the earth. Dad turned the car around. Except there was no road behind us. The dirt path we'd driven in on was gone, vanished like it had been rolled up and erased behind the tires. Instead, there was only forest, unburnt, untouched, and silence. No birds, no bugs, just wind brushing past the treetops like a whisper you couldn't quite hear. We backed up. The tires spun in loose dust. Dad cursed, floored it forward again, and that's when we saw it. The second burn line. It hadn't been there a moment ago. It curved out from the tree-line, forming a loop in the dirt ahead of us. Still steaming. Still fresh. "Stay in the car," Dad said. He stepped out to inspect the soil. When his boot touched it, the black ash beneath his sole glowed orange for a second. Like the fire wasn't out. Just hiding. I locked the doors. Checked my phone. Still no bars. But the clock had changed. June 4, 2026. 4:15 p.m. The same date as the sign. I looked up. Dad was gone. I jumped out of the car and ran toward the burn line where Dad had just been. No sign of him. No voice calling back. Just a set of boot prints in the ash, heading deeper into the trees. I followed them. I didn't think. I just moved, lungs already tight, the air too dry, too still. The prints were deep. Fresh. I called his name. No answer. But I kept going. The path started to wind, curling in wide circles, like he'd been walking without direction. Or like he was being led. Then I noticed something strange. Halfway through the third bend, the footprints changed. Same size, same spacing, but different tread. My dad wore thick-soled hiking boot. These new prints were smoother. The lugs shallower. Like the soles had worn down over time, or like they weren't boots at all anymore. My breath caught. The footprints kept going. I didn't want to follow them, but they were all I had. They moved toward a ridge, and when I climbed it, I saw something that stopped me cold. A fire tower. Half collapsed. Exactly like the one I'd seen on a ranger brochure back at the station, except this one was blackened, skeletal, and glowing at the seams. At the base of the tower, the footprints stopped, and turned around. But the prints coming back? They weren't human. Not fully. Longer, like the toes stretched out past the boot edge. Drag marks between them, like the legs had gotten too heavy. I took one step back. Then I heard breathing. Right behind me. Slow. Wet. Too close. I spun around. And there was no one there. Except a single Polaroid camera nailed to a tree. Still warm. Still aimed at me. It clicked. Word. And spit out a photo. It was me. Standing next to someone in a ranger uniform. Smiling. But I was still alone. I ran. I don't remember how long. The forest felt like it looped in on itself. Same trees, same burns, same curve in the trail every 20 steps like some twisted track I couldn't leave. My legs were shaking, but I didn't stop until I reached a clearing I hadn't seen before, wide and perfectly round. and right in the center, buried halfway in the ground, was a fire trail marker. Bright yellow. Perfect condition. It read, "Return route, authorized personnel only." That's when I heard a second voice behind me. Not Dad's. Not mine. Something else. Grayson. My name. I spun. There were no footprints. No breathing. Just the camera from before, now lying in the dirt, its lens cracked but still aimed toward the center of the clearing. It clicked once more. A photo ejected. I picked it up. My hand started shaking. In the image, I stood in the middle of this exact clearing, but in the photo, I wasn't alone. I was surrounded by rangers. 8 or 9 of them. All wearing the same faded green uniform. All staring in different directions. And none of them had faces. Behind us, the sky was lit up, streaked with orange, not from fire, but from something writing across it. A shape. A sigil. Not drawn in smoke, but burned directly into the sky like the clouds had been branded. And beneath it, in the photo's corner, were handwritten words again. You passed. He didn't. I looked up, and there it was, that same burning shape glowing above the trees. It wasn't on any map, but it was the final marker. Because in that moment, I understood something awful. This trail was never about escaping. It was about dividing. Some get out. Some guide the next.